Ukraine has launched a massive strike against a Russian airbase in Crimea, and by most reports, Russia has not fared very well. We're going to talk about just how Ukraine did it and just how bad this is for Russia's already anemic Air Force. I'm Paul, U.S. Army combat veteran. Let's get into it. Okay, first, let's take a look at the article itself, right? These are the facts that are publicly reported. You know, the Reuters, very, very conservative with their reporting, but then we're going to go deeper into the rumor mill. And of course, we're also going to look at the actual satellite footage of the airfield to try to size up what exactly Ukraine was going for. So Ukrainian military announcing Wednesday, and that's today, or yesterday for you guys, that they've struck a military base in Russian-occupied Crimea, but Moscow says it thwarted the attack, shooting down the missiles. But in classic Moscow fashion, there's always a grain of truth. They're like, some debris may have hit the installation, guys. Of course, in a Telegram post, Ukrainian Air Force commander thanked his military for conducting the operation, saying that they hit the Belbek airfield on the southwestern tip of Crimean Peninsula near the main naval base of Sevastopol. He said, quote, Ukrainian aviators will definitely return to their home airfield. He said, posting a video on social media of the purported strike, which, of course, I think is a wink and a nod to the fact that some of these Russian planes may not have an operational airfield to return home to. Ukrainian Air Force pretty noted at this point for their willingness to be just a little trolly, right? You know, this is the war of trolling, and certainly I don't begrudge the Ukrainian Air Force for doing a little bit of trolling, especially in the face of what we're going to see might have been actually a pretty devastating strike against Russia. So, of course, Russia's defense ministry said they thwarted the attack, shooting down 20 Ukrainian missiles, 17 over the Black Sea and 3 more over the peninsula. And the ministry said fragments of missiles fell on the territory of a military unit in Lemov, which is conveniently near the Belbek military base, but it caused no damage to aviation equipment. All right, let's talk about what I think the real deal is, right? And this is coming to us from Reddit, just dropped. This is from a Telegram post that was translated from Russian. Again, it sounds like the broad contours of the story are the same, but there's, of course, as always, just like key differences between what Russia says happened and then what maybe the off-the-books reality is. And as you can see here, right, this statement says that Russia, this is from a Russian source, Russia lost 3 planes and more than 20 military personnel. Of course, the MOD confirmed that a strike happened, right? But according to what this poster says is updated data, Ukrainians fired 24 missiles and that the Russians failed to shoot down 5 of them, which is interesting because this would make the Russian statement pretty close to true, right? Russia claims they said, hey, we shot down 20 Ukrainian missiles. What they failed to mention is that there were a total of 24 missiles, right? And I assume a rounding error of 1 is par for the course, right? That's actually not atypical with like air defenses, right? Where you shoot a missile, you shoot one of your air defense missiles, it blows up and you go, oh, it must have killed that missile. Or you shoot two anti-missile interceptors at it and they both blow up and you thought, oh, was it at 1 or 2? So a miscount of 1 or 2 is normal. It's not evidence of anything other than air defenses being air defenses. But the key is to take away is that Russia, again, pulling a fast one, saying, we shot down 20 missiles, guys. Great news. They just didn't mention the 5 they didn't. And 5 of them hit Belbek Airfield. According to verified information, 3 aircraft, 2 Su-27s, and an Su-30 were lost. They think 2 of them are seriously damaged, but there's still a chance to repair them. But bear in mind, guys, it's become harder and harder for Russia to repair and get aviation parts, especially specialty equipment like avionics, electronics, and like the high stress kind of equipment or materials that aircraft kind of need, high performance aircraft require. Doesn't mean Russia can't get it, right? And Russia is pretty famous for being able to make do, duct tape and shoestring its way to operational fitness for its military equipment. So I'd be very curious to know. Again, you look at stuff like the Su-30 and you think it might be harder to get that one airborne. right? They said one of the planes, unfortunately, completely destroyed. It was directly hit by a missile. 12 military personnel were killed at or near the airfield. 10 more were injured. They said some of the planes did not have time to take off after receiving a signal about the missile threat. And in this regard, we suffered heavy losses, according to one source within the Ministry of Defense. Of course, but the missiles also supposedly hit a Russian Special Forces training camp, something that the Russian MOD didn't even acknowledge as existing. 9 elite GRU soldiers were killed. GRU, remember, is Russian military intelligence. So there's not really a great analog, but I would suspect something between special forces and like CIA intel people. GRU soldiers killed, 7 wounded, and of course, several pieces of equipment were also lost. I'm not sure that could mean everything from radar to weapon systems. Now, if you feel like you've been hit by a Ukrainian airstrike some days, you might need a little bit of a boost of energy, right? Certainly, we all could use a help here and there. I don't know. I'm trying to be more creative with my transitions here, but I can't tell if I'm being too disrespectful. The point is that you don't need to launch a bunch of Storm Shadow missiles to solve your problems, right? You can just chew some Strike Gum. Strike Gum has all the energy, all the caffeine of an energy drink in a single piece of gum, right? You could throw it in your gym bag, keep it in your dashboard, and when you need a burst of energy, you just chew it. It's got 0 sugar, so it's not going to screw with your diet or mess with your adrenaline. And best of all, this has natural caffeine. I actually just confirmed this with the manufacturer, and the nice thing is it's just extracted from coffee, right? So it's not some chemical concoction. A lot of caffeine supplements use a chemical sort of formulation of caffeine that mixes it with soluble fats to delay the release. This is just a natural form of caffeine, and you will feel the difference. I have had numerous people tell me, both over the internet and, of course, in person, that they're like, I don't get it. You say this is the same amount as a Red Bull, but I get so much more energy when I chew it. And I'm like, dude, what do you think I'm doing here, right? So check us out, strikegum.com. You can, of course, we've got military discounts. We have first-time customer discounts. And, you know, we might start rolling out some Valentine's Day discounts. We're getting close to that point. Do I think it's a great Valentine's Day present? Yeah, why not? Yeah. It's better than candy, right? It's like candy, but it'll make you more productive, get you closer to your goals, not further away. Okay, let's talk about the actual Belbek Airfield. And here we go. We found it, right? So let's zoom it out. I'll show you guys where we're at, right? This is right here. You can see this is deep into Crimea, which is itself pretty interesting, given that these were launched by the Ukrainian Air Force, Storm Shadow missiles. So that's a missile that requires an aircraft to launch it, but then travels on its own a good distance. And I sort of suspect that this was likely launched maybe in the Black Sea region. I'm not sure. I'd be curious to know where these aircraft were launched from. But regardless, aircraft launch, they fire missiles at this point. But here's, and you know, a lot has been made about Storm Shadow missiles. And let's just take a minute to appreciate this. The nearest Ukrainian territory of any size is probably like Odessa, right? And these missiles traveled at a really high level of precision all the way to Belbek Airfield. But here's the thing. Look at Belbek Airfield. Notice the size of this airfield. It's massive, right? It's not about just hitting the airfield. Let's zoom in further and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Sure, here's a bunch of helipads, but look, here's how precise you have to be. Here's a collection of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 19 aircraft clustered all here, which, by the way, guys, as we've talked about, the danger of clustering your aircraft like this is exactly what we talked about. That you hit one, but if it's loaded with ordnance and fuel, it's going to burn and it's going to damage 2 more. So I suspect that's exactly what happened here. So, you know, one of these aircraft had a direct hit because it was fueled and prepared to go airborne. It exploded and damaged these other 2 aircraft that may or may not have been fueled and ready to go get airborne. But you could see here, right, another cluster of it looks like about 6 aircraft. And of course, here we have, it looks like another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So another 10 aircraft, 11, 12, 13 aircraft, two rotary wing, right? Another 5. So you see how, though, Ukraine has to have a really high level of precision to hit these strikes, right? The Storm Shadows really need to deliver on their target, right? They need to be able to hit to within 10 or 15 meters, really probably within 10 meters of their target. So if your target's right here, it's got to be really precisely done. So, and you can see Russia, they just, at least based on this photo, this imagery, which it says copyright 2024. I don't think so. Well, it says 2024 Google. So I don't know. We'd have to see the dates that this, that this was updated, but it seems like Russia they really believe that Ukrainian forces can't reach this deep, right? Look at how densely packed these aircraft are. Normally, right, in other operations, you see the aircraft parked like this, right? In these sort of spots where you have an aircraft parked, but then you have a large dirt berm separating it to prevent exactly what we talked about. If a missile strike hits aircraft A, aircraft B is separated by a large berm, so you're unlikely to get exploding ordnance or other debris damaging surrounding aircraft. And so the fact that they haven't really done this at Belbek says that Russia sort of may have believed that this isn't really that big a threat, right? And of course, Ukraine's out here correcting their mistake the hard way. Anyway, that is really all I had for you guys. Thank you so much. As always, thanks to all of our Colonel tier members. Of course, if you guys want to check out the twice weekly uncensored combat footage analysis, check it out, combatvetnews.com. I just did my analysis of the plain-clothed IDF Special Forces team raiding that hospital, so check it out. It's for members only. See you in the next one. Cheers.